If you turn please to book of Genesis chapter 12. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go this morning because all sorts of things have been going on, and I might have to move away a bit from the message that I thought I would be giving, but that's me. I had a birthday this month again. I'm 38 years old. I'm 38 years old, believe me or not. 17th of August, 1984. He said, "Follow me." And I was born again. And this morning I just want to share some of the glories of what that is. You know, we can go through life, we can be Christians for however long, but somehow we don't see the glory of what we've been called into. Sometimes, so I got saved, I became a Christian, and I go to church. But in the last life, I used to do all kinds of wonderful and weird things, and now I'm not allowed to do them anymore. Okay? The joy of the Lord is your strength. And what the enemy is always after is after your joy. And the title of the message I had this morning, I'm having to go around it, was The Call of the Disciple. And I was going to look at Genesis chapter 12 and in the light of the call of Abraham. Okay? That God calls us, and He calls us specifically and individually unto Himself, because He has a purpose and a plan that He ordained before the foundation of the world, that He would fulfill that calling in our lives. And that calling is only fulfilled in discipleship. It's not fulfilled. Sometimes we get confused with discipleship and being saved. You know, when we were called, we were justified. Whom He called, He also justified. Whom He justified, then He also glorified. Okay? So we mustn't, and sometimes people get confused with when they look at the scriptures and they look at the teaching of Jesus, and they start saying, well, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you're not saved. Salvation, you cannot be saved unless you're a disciple, so He's got to save you first. And He saves you once and for all, and He brings you into His purpose. And His purpose is to disciple you so that Christ may be formed in you. So Christ becomes the lodestar. So it's not about evangelism, it's not about church growth, it's about Christ being revealed in you. And this was Paul's ministry. He says, I travail until Christ has been formed in you. And all his teaching was designed to that one goal that he had. And he himself said, I do not think I've attained, but I press on to the prize of the high calling in Jesus. And I think somehow individually and as a church, I don't mean just here, but generally, we kind of lose that vision. And I just want to restore that this morning. Because God's been dealing with me about it. There's nothing I say to you that God hasn't said to me, okay? So sometimes people say you're too hard. I say, well, you know, the road of discipleship is not a bed of roses. It's take up your cross daily and follow me. And I've been guilty of not taking up my cross daily, and I paid the price for it. But God is gracious. In the midst of it all, He keeps us. There's no condemnation. There isn't one person that has achieved and another person that hasn't. The glory all belongs to God. When we see Him face to face, there'll be no boasting. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way, because sometimes people can get fired up by these things and think we're trying to push people into, I don't know, you need to do better. You need to try harder. It's not of that. It's about letting go. All right? It's about being able to hear from God. Genesis chapter 12. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and I will make thy name great. and thou shalt be a blessing. I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. That was God's purpose. Amen. So Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. That was not God's purpose. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and all the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and to the land of Canaan they came. And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel. And he pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abraham journeyed, going on still towards the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass, when he was near to come enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold, now I know that art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass that when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me and save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. There you see the call of Abraham. Why I like Abraham is that I identify with him probably more than anyone else, because he was so human. He was called out of a house of idolatry. He and his family they used to worship these gods, and God called them out. And way back, he told him to come out, leave thy father's house and thy father's kindred. He'd spoken this to him when he was in Ur of the Chaldees. But sometimes when God calls us to do something, it's not always easy to follow immediately, because there are things, because we have attachments. So he was still attached to his family. So he took Lot. He was a family man, so he looked after, Lot was his nephew. So his father had died. So Abraham had this concern. Everything he did was genuine. His father was an old man. He took his father with him. And they went to Haran. And when his father died, they called him to stop. He still had to get out of that place. But he still took Lot with him. Okay? Now Lot is a picture of the justified that's not been discipled. He was justified. When he was in Sodom, we said, his soul was vexed with all the wickedness that was around him. He was righteous. He was justified. But he wasn't a disciple. When he had the choice, when Abraham gave him the choice of saying, let there be no, because there was a strife about the cattle. He says, let the Canaanite would say, this is a bad testimony. Let's separate. You choose. And he chose the best. Now, he owed his life to Abraham. But being the carnal person he was, he looked after number one. And he chose the city. He chose what he could see. And how did his kids grow up? His kids were as carnal as he was. Yet he was still righteous. Okay? And when God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he heard the prayer of Abraham. And he delivered Lot out of that city. Why? It's a picture of the rapture. We have some people saying if you're going to miss a rapture if you're not really 100% with the Lord, so half of us are going to go up and half of us are not. I would think if that was the case, I would miss it. And probably most of you. I know you well. There isn't. We are justified once and for all by the blood of Jesus. Our justification is settled once and for all. Our walk demands discipleship and discipline. And if we do not walk that way, then the Lord will discipline us because he disciplines those whom he loves. Yeah? So we don't have to be a devil-conscious people. We need to be a God-conscious people. We need to know that we are called. And we are called to something higher than religion. And that can only happen in our personal lives. Coming to church doesn't prove anything. Coming to church just means I got nothing else to do on a Sunday morning. So I jest. For those of you who don't know me, take me with a pinch of salt. Last Sunday I was in the Baptist church in Stroud, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. The people there know me. They got me to pray for somebody, and I don't like all that stuff, the attention. But my point is, I felt at home with them. Why? Because we're all born of the same Spirit. It's not this particular church or that particular church. The things that we have in common is the Lord Jesus Christ. What we have in common is Christ in us, the hope of glory. There's not one of us that's better than the other. We might be better informed, but being better informed doesn't make you more spiritual. It can actually make you more puffed up. Because knowledge puffs up, but love edifies. And somebody was reading today from, I think it was Dave from 1 Peter, when he tells us how we should be one towards another. That we should need to esteem others better than ourselves. And that's the call of discipleship, is taking us onto something greater than we can achieve. I remember, I'll just share a bit of my testimony, because I don't like sharing my testimony because sometimes I feel I'm talking about myself, but I like talking about myself, so I'm not going to apologize. I was brought up in religion, okay? I was brought up Roman Catholic. I was a good Catholic as far as Catholics go. I attended everything. I went to Catholic school. So I knew about Jesus. I knew about all the stuff. I knew about Easter and the cross and all that stuff. But it had no meaning to me, except that I had to follow that tradition. So if you asked me if I knew about Jesus, I would say yes. When Jehovah's Witnesses talked to me, I thought I knew what I was talking about. If Christians talked to me, I thought I knew what I was talking about. But one day I was sitting down and I was watching Billy Graham doing an evangelist meeting at Aston Villa's ground. That he'd done months ago, but it was relayed, and I was told to listen to it, and I thought, okay. By that time, I was reading in the Bible. I started with the book of Revelation because I want to know how it ends. I don't recommend it, but that's where I was at. So everyone was a false teacher, everyone was a false prophet. I was the only one that knew it all. And as he was preaching, he just said, because I had no intention of going to church, but I thought I'd become a Christian by then because I liked Jesus and I thought I'd follow him. And I had these ideas in my heart about becoming a better person, because it could have been Buddha, it could have been Mahatma Gandhi, but no, it was Jesus. Jesus was the best, So that's where I was at. So now I was a Christian. There was no way I'm going to church because they're all hypocrites. There's no way I was going to do all that stuff. And there's no way I was going to get baptized because I was already baptized as a baby. And Billy Graham said, and you need to go to church, and you need to get baptized, I don't know, because Jesus died publicly for you. It was an open shame. And something cut me in there. I knew that I was a sham. I knew that I was a hypocrite. And for all that I said about Jesus, I knew I didn't know him. And my life was a sham. And that was it. I was undone. And I went to bed that night. And I woke up. And eternity had entered into my heart. I can't describe the words. It was supernatural. I knew for the rest of my life the gospel was going to be all that I'd ever cared about. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a work ethic. So I had plenty of Christians in church telling me what I need to be doing, what I need to find a job. But those people are nowhere in Christ today because they got their outward, I had a lot of encouragement just to prove this word. If this word is true, if every word is true, then I have to believe it all. If any of it's not true, then I don't have to believe any of it. I'd been deceived by religion. I wasn't going to get deceived again. And I started reading the word and I started asking God questions and proving it bit by bit by bit. And over the years, he's been able to direct me. I've got things wrong, I've messed up, but he's always been there. And just like Abraham, he's always been there. He's always been there. When he went to Abimelech, it says, that's my sister. At the time that God had promised him that Isaac was going to be there, it was a time for Isaac to be born almost. So I imagine Sarah looked completely different because she got revitalized, and Abimelech, at the age of 90, fancied a 90-year-old woman. And if God had not intervened, what would have happened to the promise? We would have had a Philistine. That's how serious. Fear can do that, but it does not frustrate God's purpose because he who began a good work will complete it. And God intervened, and he came to Abimelech in a dream by night. And he'll do that for you. Sometimes we think we need to save ourselves. Sometimes we think we need to prove ourselves. But we need to have our confidence in God. Because what the devil does, he goes for your joy, and then you forget your calling. You think it's all down to you. It's all down to me. I have to do this. There's no one else left. And then we start building up all this stuff. I was away for 4 days, and God was dealing with me with a whole lot of stuff. I didn't realize how much garbage I'd accumulated. And thankfully I didn't have to work the last 4 days because I knew I was preaching. I was preaching this morning, and God came through for me yesterday. So it's the same for me as it is for everyone else. It's a call, it's a walk, and he gives us grace when we need. Grace that called us, grace that saved us, grace that will see us home. Grace that will discipline us. It's all grace. God's calling is based on his grace. He empowers. He said, I will never leave you or forsake you. But we need to be convinced of the call. I knew when I got saved, he said, follow me. And he said, if any man loves brother, sister, whatever it is, more than me, he's not worthy of me. He didn't say he can't be saved. But there's a cost to discipleship. We need to be willing to pay the cost. But he still gives you grace. Okay? There's no boasting in discipleship. And sometimes I meet men of God and they're up there and they've achieved great things and they're actually boasting. And I thought, do they really know the Lord? And if you know the Lord, there's no boasting. Because it says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. Because he always gives grace. But he gives grace to the humble. He resists the proud. And so what we have in the church today, a lot of people who are puffed up. They've achieved things. But then what happens is very often you see them fall. Why? Because they're given place to the devil. They didn't humble themselves. It wasn't because there's anything wrong with their ministry or anything wrong with anything they'd done. But they didn't humble themselves. They didn't pursue a discipleship. When the ministries got successful, you take your eyes off the calling to discipleship. It's happened with me. It happens to people all the time. You get success and you forget the call. The call is to discipleship. It's not to achieve anything. God saw Abraham through, and he brought him to the place where even then Isaac was born. And Isaac was however old he was. He says, now I want you to sacrifice your only son. By that time, Abraham had learned that God is God, that he could not produce that child without God. And so if he killed him, God could raise him up from the dead. But he had to take the knife. And had not the angel of God intervened, he would have killed him. He was convinced of God's calling. But God intervened, and he produced a lamb. And so now we have Calvary, that God did not spare his son, but he gave him freely for us as an example. So Jesus is always the example. Jesus is always the lodestar. And he did all that in the power of the Holy Spirit. For the first 30 years of his ministry, he was the carpenter from Nazareth. He was a good living Jew. He listened to his mum and dad. He looked after his brothers and sisters. And then one day, he went to the River Jordan. He got baptized. And the Spirit drove him into the wilderness, it says, to be tempted of the devil. You see, don't ever worry about temptation, because all temptation is going to prove the will of God in your life. And once he'd overcome the devil, he said he came back and his ministry was full of the Holy Spirit. And his whole ministry, from start to finish on earth, was led by the Holy Spirit. And that's what God has done in this dispensation. We've been given something Abraham wasn't given. We've been given the Holy Spirit. He says in John chapter 16, he says, it's expedient for you that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Comforter will not come. And disciples will think, how can it be good that you're going away? He said, but I'm going to send you someone just like me. And I remember the day I got convinced. It was like July 2005, just one day he came to me. But the Holy Spirit is as real with me as Jesus was with the disciples. I knew the doctrine of the Holy Spirit. And I knew for the rest of my life I would never want. And I've messed up since. But he's always been there. I've grieved the Holy Spirit more than once. And I know I've grieved him. And I've paid the consequences. What I'm saying is that God has called us. And he's equipped us for this day and age. He's called us, each one of our calling is different. You need to know where God has called you to. And we need to grow in that. We need to rejoice in that. And rejoicing in thanksgiving, God will fulfill that purpose in your life in the same way that he fulfilled it in Abraham's life. All right? God bless you.